yesterday, Eskom announced that Stage 3 load shedding will continue today from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Thereafter, Stage 2 load shedding will be in effect during those times for the rest of the week. The power utility has previously warned that the national grid is under major strain due to the colder weather and the demand on the system during peak hours. This brings us to the question, what are the solutions? To answer that and more, we are joined by Brian Day, who is a private consultant in electricity. Mr. Day, welcome. Now, South Africa experienced record power cuts last year and over the couple of months, as Eskom has said that as much as 6,000 megawatts of additional generation capacity will be needed in order to secure the system. Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe in February of 2019 predicted that a program to source up to half of that amount could be online within 2 years. It's now 2022 and there seems to be delays. What, in your opinion, has caused these delays?
Thank you very much and welcome to your guests. I think that we've got a number of challenges. Obviously, Eskom's equipment is aging. They're doing the best they can to maintain it. But even after the good work that's happening, there will be significant decommissioning of that equipment. So the reality of additional generation equipment needing to come onto the grid is absolutely urgent. The RP, the Integrated Resource Plan of 2019, had quite an ambitious new build program, but we're nearly 3 years later and we haven't yet concluded the purchase of any new capacity from that. The RPP office has made good progress in bid window 5 to procure more generation capacity there. The risk mitigation program, which the Honourable Minister was referring to, unfortunately was written with convoluted rules that were with the best intentions, I believe, to secure and deal with all different options, came up with rules that really just don't work. And it's highly wasteful, very high tariffs and unreasonably so. For me, the only objective would be to have a deal with this as though it really is the national crisis that it is. We need to urgently build lots of new capacity, both through the government's renewables program, which is a world-renowned program, but we really do need to expedite it. The Integrated Resource Plan, from the day it was published, was outdated. It makes assumptions on the electricity availability factor or energy availability factor from Eskom's plants, which is significantly higher than reality, and therefore it projects far less new capacity being needed than is the reality. That needs to be corrected urgently. The artificial caps in that RRP of the amount of renewable capacity that can be built each year should be removed, at least from years 2 and 3. We can build up that capacity very quickly. So we need to treat it as a national crisis. We need to take the necessary action, both in terms of the renewable program, but also take more action in terms of the private PPAs, where the Honourable Minister published Schedule 2 of the Electricity Regulation Act last year. After having his arm twisted, it is said by our President, and projects now up to 100 megawatts qualify to be registered without having to qualify to go through the licensing process with NERSA. That means that a lot of projects can come on stream, but at the same time it's not at the click of a finger. A lot of that development work wasn't done yet because there was this massive hurdle in the way. A lot of projects are now in the development stage. NERSA is receiving applications for the registration of those, along with, of course, all the other work that has to be done, environmental approvals and the like. So that cap, in fact, could be raised even further, and along with suggestions from Operation Vulindlela that private PPAs could be defined as a strategic infrastructure project, and that would further ease the way. But business as usual is not going to solve a crisis.
Now, talking about development, renewable energy market needs the development of clear policies as well as legal procedures. Governments have to introduce and implement support policies to strengthen the renewable energy market. Do we have adequate policies in place for South Africa?
I think if anything, you land up in a situation where you've got too many policies. I think the Schedule 2 that was published in October of last year is an example of how government's saying to the private sector to play the role that they can. Not that the private sector solves everything. It's in partnership with government where that sort of thing can happen. So I think government is very aware of the things that they can do to streamline the process. But we need to understand what are the key hurdles. And some of the key hurdles are around private procurement, expediting that to 100 megawatts. What is the rational reason for projects only to 100 megawatts? If you can build a 500 megawatt project, we needed to reduce the load shedding. We can, through the RPP office, the MRE could expedite and have bigger bid windows where the bid windows are hugely oversubscribed. There are a lot more projects out there than are being chosen because of the limits that are being placed on that, along with a very rapid redo of the RRP, where you simply assess the assumptions that were made, which people in the industry know are not correct. You can look at, first and foremost, the EAF, the energy availability factor. If you rerun the models, which it can do very quickly, there are other entities that can do it, including CSR, Energy Research Center, etc. You get the assumptions right. You do slightly updated cost curves for it. You get a new number, and then you run massive amounts of procurement, while at the same time opening up the private market even more, so that you get both generation that is sold into Eskom under the renewables program and more private PPAs between independent businesses. But I think we need to sit around the table and have a look at what are the levers that would unlock the realities to actually build massive new capacity. And I'll say it again, business as usual is not going to solve a crisis.
There certainly is a lot of work that needs to be done between independent power producers as well as government. Mr. Brian Day, who is a private consultant on electricity, thank you so much for your time and giving us that insight.